So look who's back up on the lift. Our queen. Actually, she's not broken. She's just on the lift. Look at that. Yeah, our brand new beautiful Knuckles, which look exactly like the old Knuckles. Oh my God.
Now, you do not need a lift to see this problem. You can actually see it without one. And you can see a crack over here. There's the crack.
Oh my God.
Okay, this is unbelievable.
Oh my God.
And what is going on in the case of a failure is that this aluminum connection here just breaks apart. Then the entire wheel knuckle, so the device what holds your wheel bearing, is no longer supported up here, and your wheel just flips out to the side at 200 kilometers per hour if you go that fast. Or while you go green laning. Or while you drive around in the mall, you know, in between other Ferraris and Bentleys, and then you hit them. Now, like Vera already said, we have finally time to do a review on our new Knuckles, which we got installed by Land Rover, because the car is now on the lift waiting for the winter tires to be mounted on our rims. What I can see on the first view is that this Knuckle is brand new. What I also see on the first view is that they did not replace the upper link here.
Did they say they wanted to do that?
No. Which means that the upper knuckle is also original, because that's a permanent press fit on the Land Rover part. Which means if this part had corrosion, they must have removed the corrosion to fit it back in here. Based on the feedback I got from many people, this problem is caused partially by corrosion. It's basically some sort of a contact corrosion driven also by salt and moisture, and then the pin in here is swelling up and putting extra stress on this knuckle. So I see that this is still the old component here, because I marked them here with red marking ink. You guys remember that? We do see that the gap is completely evenly installed, and we trust the German Land Rover workshop to tighten a nut. Okay, that should work. Many people asked us if there is a difference between the new Knuckles and the old Knuckles, and what I can tell you is that the machining looks somewhat the same, okay? Here you can see a comparison between the old Knuckle from 2015 and the newly installed Knuckle, and you can see that the rib location changed a bit. So that's how you can see what version you got installed in your L405 or L494. It was actually only about a week which they took to fix the car, from the incoming inspection until they returned it to us. But it was a total of 8 or 9 weeks to get this case arranged, okay? Until they had finally the clearance out of the UK to fix the car under warranty. This is a 2015 L405 with 160,000 kilometers, and I managed to get these Knuckles replaced in Germany under warranty, and there is no official recall from the Department of Transportation over here. So this is a clear gesture by Land Rover. I want to call it like that because they did it without being forced by the Department of Transportation. And in my opinion, they did a pretty decent job. And I want to explain now to you guys how I made this happen and why some people in Germany just did not make it happen to get their cars fixed. I think we're going to have to talk about that in this video. When the car was done, Land Rover actually gave me a repair bill with an invoice amount of €0. But based on that bill, I can see that this is a repair which costs in the vicinity of €5,000 in Germany. And that's not including all the surrounding components. That's only for the 2 new Knuckles. They are about €1,600 each, and the install labor. So a lot of money to get that fixed out of your own pocket. There is no official recall by the Department of Transportation, even though I filed a clear claim documenting my case. The Kraftfahrtbundesamt in Germany did nothing so far, okay? So they have their eyes shut, and in my opinion, they are primarily responsible if somebody will be injured in this case. However, there are no known injuries based on a cracked knuckle anywhere on the planet caused by a Range Rover L405 or L494. More details to that later on about the claim which now went through in the US for a recall of the L405 model. I did mark all the connection points of my suspension with red ink, prior to giving the car to Land Rover. This way I can see clearly what they replaced and what they did not replace.
No.
And that matches exactly the repair bill they gave me. And I also got a suspension alignment done from Land Rover with an inspection report with the detailed values in it. And I gotta say, the car drives absolutely straight and everything is perfect. So they did their job 100% correctly. I can't believe I say that, but they did. Okay, so here the other side, we don't expect anything different. It's the same knuckle. They did not replace the upper link here. All the other red ink marks are also not been open. I'm quite happy that Land Rover fixed my 8-year-old L405 under warranty. The other thing I wanted to show you is the repair invoice, okay? So it says here basically customer complaint, knuckle left and right cracked. Very simple, that was my complaint. And you can see each item basically says warranty and the amount is 0 on all the items listed here. If you add the items up, because it does have the detailed prices in it, it's about 5,000 euros. And now I want to explain how I accomplished this here for the first one in Germany and how you can probably get the same thing done if you go after it correctly. What I gotta say is my first step was to file a complaint with the Kraftfahrtbundesamt in Germany on their website. The Kraftfahrtbundesamt in Germany, so the Department of Transportation, has a pretty decent website where you can file a concern about a consumer product. And you have to fill out a questionnaire. That's what I did. And I filled it out without complaining. I kept all my writing based on the facts. I attached pictures and I explained exactly what happened. And I did not say that I talked to Land Rover and they didn't want to do anything and that they suck and all the vehicles break and it's done all over the world. I didn't do any of that. I stayed with the facts. The facts are that there is a known recall in the UK back then and I listed the number. The issue is known based on a recall in the UK and here's the number. And I spared all my emotions, okay? Because I thought this is gonna be read by somebody who is gonna be on vacation tomorrow because it's in Germany, obviously. And I don't wanna ruin that person's vacation. Once I had this claim done, I heard absolutely nothing. Like this, nothing. What I did next is I wrote a letter to the CEO of Land Rover Germany with my complaint, okay? And I did the same thing. I stayed with the facts. I did not complain. I did not tell them that they suck. And I did not tell them that the dealership told me to go and pound sand or anything like that. I stayed with the facts and I advise you to do the same thing. If you want to be treated professionally, you got to treat them professionally. There were a lot of messages written to us with sample communications and I can tell you guys, if you're not treating them correctly, they will not treat you correctly. Especially if you are not a regular customer of Land Rover, like I am. I'm not a regular customer. Like I always said in our videos, we will never ever take our vehicle to a Land Rover dealership to get it fixed. And we violated this rule now for the first time. So if you are not a regular customer there and you bought this car for cheap around the corner, maybe in some other country or maybe out of some questionable sources and not from Land Rover, and now you detect a knuckle cracking and the vehicle is not dealership maintained, they're gonna send you to pound sand, I can tell you that for sure. Because there is no proof that nobody messed with those bolts over the 8-year span which that vehicle was driven on the road. I was lucky. Mine was Land Rover maintained and I only bought it like 6 months back previously. And it had an absolute clean record. So I had somewhat proof, even if I didn't maintain the vehicle at Land Rover, I had somewhat proof that the vehicle was maintained by Land Rover and it looked all virgin in regard to the knuckles.
Yes,
Okay?
it did.
Now, after I wrote my email to the CEO of Land Rover in Germany, it took about 8 days until I had an email back from customer support. A lady was contacting me via email and she said she tried to reach me by phone, Now, I checked my phone and indeed there was an unknown number out of the region in Frankfurt. That must have been her. And I do not pick up unknown numbers on my cell phone. You guys can imagine why. I called the lady and I talked to her. And what did I do? I was nice to her, okay? That's what I do professionally because I'm a sales guy. I try to get people to like me compared to a car sales guy who tries to get people to hate them. Different. I work in the automotive industry as an industrial machine salesman. My first goal, if I make contact with a new customer or a potential prospector, I try that my customer will potentially like me. Because I gotta be working with them on a project for over a duration, maybe from 2 years until the machine is sold, built, shipped, commissioned, and so on. And later on, I gotta work with them maybe for 10, 15, and 20 years. I have many of those customers, and that's how I treated this lady from the first second. I thanked her for writing me her email, and then I explained what happened. And then I said, maybe she can check if there is some chance that this case is known at Land Rover, and I also gave her the reference number. I did not expect that she knows anything from what I wrote to the Kraftfahrtbundesamt, Department of Transportation. I gave her all the information again. I talked her through it, and I asked her, maybe she can check if I can get an appointment in the workshop to get this checked out. That was my request. I did not say to get this fixed under warranty or anything like that. I left the cost question open to the absolute last second, okay? Further down the road, at one point, I think when we already had the car at the dealership for inspection, that's when I heard for the first time that it will be covered under warranty, okay? That was my approach, and I find that is the professional way of dealing.
Yes, no emotions.
No emotions.
That's why I was no part of it.
That's absolutely true.
I stayed in the car.
Okay, she would have folded that guy in the dealership workshop down into such a little box in the first 15 minutes. Okay, so I spared her that. I did not have Vera involved when I was talking to that lady from customer service. There is a rule why. Women hate women. It's as simple as that. Okay.
I don't hate women.
I'm saying that not for you. I'm saying that for the entire population on the planet.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I'm very defensive for my cars. I mean, they're family members.
Yeah, and because Vera knows a lot, she knows when somebody bullshits her.
Yes, I do.
When it's in regard to a vehicle, and then she has very little practice to stay calm in such an event. Versus my customers start to bullshit me all the time, and I'm very good in staying calm and staying with the facts, okay? So it's my job. I'm a sales guy and a technical manager in the company I work for many, many, many years, okay? So I'm definitely not the guy who tells the customer when he calls and his machine isn't working because the PLC locked up. I'm not gonna ask him, did you check if it's plugged in? Because that's for sure gonna get my customer all fired up. The last resort he chose was calling me on my cell phone when the machine is down. So the first thing I gotta do is I gonna have to apologize for our machine being down, not his, our. That the minute he calls, this is not his machine anymore, it's our machine. And I gotta say, long term, that's how Land Rover treated me. At least that lady from customer service, who I hold in absolute high regard, and I will not give out her name.
Yeah, she took responsibility for that car.
So that's how I got this addressed. So you have to make contact with customer service in Germany. And if any of those items apply to the vehicle you bought, okay? If it's not dealership maintained, if it's questionable, if it was repaired in that area before, if it is most likely imported out of another country or any other weird source like an import out of the US here in Europe, maybe a salvage title and all kind of stuff like this, just forget about it. It's not going to be covered under warranty.
You're going to have to be extra nice to that lady.
So obviously, I filed everything on my PC. If you want this information from me or from Vera on what we wrote to the Department of Transportation. We will only hand this out to our patrons, and that has a privacy reason, okay? Once somebody becomes a patron to us, it's automatically known, the full address and the name, and they verify it and everything. So if you want to have this and you are a patron, I can give you my draft of what I wrote in German. But on the other hand, I gotta say, I was not successful at the Department of Transportation.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Christian,
I wrote everything down, I explained exactly what happened, and that's what I sent them, okay? So exactly from my car, how it looked, and so on, how I traced it down. Honestly, I cannot believe that there is no official recall up until this time.
but Christian, it's 3 months and the German bureaucracy. I mean, it's gonna take a year until that claim goes through, but it
Yeah,
will go
it could
through
be.
at one point, you know?
Yeah, well, all I want is that nobody gets hurt. That's my motivation to file this. I don't want to, beat up Land Rover or anything. I'm 100% sure there are people driving around with these vehicles out there in Germany, and they are not aware that their knuckle is cracked. And the only way to notify them is over a recall driven by Land Rover or by the KBA, the Department of Transportation. That's the only way to capture those vehicles. Okay?
Yes.
Land Rover loses track of the owner of the vehicle once the vehicle is sold. Their database is essentially not updated anymore. So they can't contact everyone. That's why it needs to go over the authorities, in my opinion. And that's why I don't feel bad filing a claim like this. Now, another thing I want to address is that we have a YouTube channel, and there were a lot of claims. Well, you guys were only successful with your claim at Land Rover because you have a YouTube channel. I doubt it.
No, they don't know anything about
YouTube channel is not known in Germany. Okay, we have like only 3% of our viewers.
1%.
1% of our viewers in Germany. And I did not have any evidence from the customer support lady that she knew that we have a YouTube channel. She would have asked me that because I was so personal with her at the end that I know it would have come up, and it did not come up. And there is another piece of evidence, and that is if you search for the knuckle cracking in German language in the internet on an L405, on an L494, with any wording you find in German, you will not see a single picture of a cracked knuckle of an L405. And that tells me the entire subject is not known in the German language by Google, and that means people have not complained or written about it. It's just not known. Versus if you type in L405 cracked knuckle, you get about 6 million hits with our video on the second spot. That's how known it is in the English-speaking world, okay? And that's also my complaint to my fellow German Queen drivers with an L405 or an L494. The typical German L405 or L494 driver doesn't know what a knuckle is. I'm sorry, but it seems to be like that.
Yeah, they are different kind of people.
They're different kind of people.
Driving
okay?
an L405.
I also see this kind of feedback when I go through German Facebook groups in German language and see what they talk about and how they behave and what kind of posts they make. And then I compare this with the English-speaking Facebook groups like the L405 users or Range Rovers or whatever, if it's English-speaking, and I look at the quality of the posts, the technical content of the posts, they are certainly in more detail.
On the other hand, I think the US claim...
I haven't talked about the US claim yet.
Yes, I thought it's about time we start talking about the US claim.
Okay, now the newest development in this case is the recall of the L405 in the United States by
the NHTSA.
By the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, okay? They issued a recall for the L405 just recently. If you guys are interested in this, I'm pretty sure you already saw it over various Facebook groups or from other sources. It went through. And when I first clicked on the claim, I said, okay, very nice, it's done. But when you read the details of this claim, it's absolutely stunning. And that's where Germany should really cut themselves a piece off on how quickly and how accurately something like this is handled in the United States. Now, when you look at the claim, there is first of all listed the number of potentially involved vehicles, 16,759, okay? And the estimated percentage with defects is 100%, okay? So if you multiply the 16,000 with my 5,000 euro repair bill, you can see that this is costing Land Rover some serious money, okay? I almost feel sorry for them. I really do, because I know this puts a company eventually in financial trouble, okay? But they're gonna have to pull through this. On the other hand, this claim specifies that there are two different scenarios of how vehicles are affected. There is the scenario VIN range 1 and the scenario VIN range 2. And not both VIN ranges are affected or repaired in the same manner. Okay, so if you bring your vehicle in, and I believe it's in VIN range 2, and the knuckle is not cracked, they will only install like a little safety bracket around the knuckle to capture it in the event of a crack, okay? So it's not going to cost them a ton of money to do that. Versus other vehicles, I believe the ones in the VIN range 1, and I might be wrong, I did not read that here word for word, I think the knuckles are going to get replaced, and it's going to cost them a serious amount of money to do all that. I'm a YouTuber, I'm a trustworthy source for information, okay? So now the other interesting thing in that safety recall in the US, and I find that absolutely stunning, okay, is they have a series of events. They call it the chronology of events of the recall N759. And note, they call it N759 just like it was called in the UK. And when you scroll down all the way to the end of this chronology of events, it says here, JLR has received 12 claims and field reports in the USA between October 1, 2015 and October 18, 2024. What that means is it took only 12 serious claims to get the government in the United States, the National Safety Something Board, to really react. That tells me in Germany they haven't done anything because they have not even received 12 claims so far. They probably have that one from this Christian Muth guy, and that's it, okay? And maybe the other claims are somehow not taken serious. I don't know. Maybe there are 2 or 3 claims. I know there is one Patreon from us who filed a claim with the Kraftfahrtbundesamt in Germany, but I don't know how many more there are. But I know now 100% for sure in the United States, it only took 12 knuckles to crack until they recalled these vehicles. It also says in here that there are no injuries documented by cracking knuckles, okay? So, but still, because they crack, they saw enough danger to recall those vehicles and make Land Rover to issue such a serious recall. So that's the latest and greatest development, what we know. I think everybody has the potential to get this fixed. And if your knuckle isn't cracked, you are likely not at danger. You also have to see that. So there is not much sense that you go there with a microscope and you try to look for a crack if there is none. You also have to consider that case, okay? One more interesting piece of information. In the safety recall in the United States, it lists the manufacturer of that stupid knuckle, okay? And guess you guys where it's coming from, okay? It's coming from Super Alloy Industrial Company Ltd. In Taiwan, okay? A province of China. Maybe people shouldn't always buy from the lowest bidder. On the other hand, I do think in Taiwan they can make high quality products. If Taiwan wouldn't be there, we all would have to spend a lot more for all the shit we need in our lives. Yeah.
I did not expect that, actually.
What?
That it's coming out of Taiwan.
I was thinking it's really coming out of China. I'm actually positively impressed that it is out of Taiwan.
Yeah.
Okay. I rate Taiwan from the quality higher than China.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Taiwan is, for me, semiconductor country, okay? High quality, fine technology with a lot of smart people. That's all I got to say about our Knuckle recall. I hope this enlightened some of you, and I wish all of us a crack-free drive of our L494 and L405. This is kind of unfair. They're going through a road trip on a cold, crisp, sunny day. So a lot of people ask me all the time, what do I do to maintain my hoist here on the outside in the weather? And the answer is I'm doing nothing. So I gotta do some maintenance soon. I gotta loop the thing. And what I also gotta do is I gotta keep my chain lubricated, which is buried here into the ground. And it has a very unique water draining system. So please check out those videos on how Vera and I installed this hoist. It is a unique installation in my opinion. Now one thing what I want to do before I put my winter tires back on is replace the tie rods right here. This is an ACE system and it starts to clonk here now after 160,000 kilometers. And before I go after this and replace expensive components, it's a wise idea to just replace the tie rods. You can see if I can move them like this, you know, under tension right now, they are probably worn out and they're not very expensive. If it still clonks after this, I know I have to work on the ACE system, which is very costly. An ACE actuator, so the active cornering system working based on hydraulics, is about 800 to 900 euros, and I don't really look forward to do this. So there are the tie rods right here. You can see they completely loose. It may cause a clonking noise, it may not, but it's the easiest way to approach this before investing a lot of money into the ACE system. Another thing you want to do with the ACE system still connected on one side and loose on this side, you want to give this a wiggle up and down, okay? And the specification from Land Rover is plus minus 5 millimeters, so 10 millimeter motion in total. And you can see that I'm moving close to that. So there's the new one. Hopefully I bought them correctly, but it does look like it. As many times I use Myler. We are not sponsored and we are not looking for a sponsorship, but we found that Myler is producing products which are partially improved compared to the OEM products. They also priced very well. Okay, got it in. So loose, very loose. So the stabilizer bar link nuts get 185 Newton meters, and check this out. It says must be tightened with the vehicle at normal ride height. Now that's of course complete bullshit, because these are actually joints which swivel all the way around without any effort. Good. Okay. Brand new winter tires. These got a snowflake and the little mountain symbol. I'm putting the used ones in the front and the new ones in the back, and I'm paying attention to the direction of rotation. And they are freaking big. So on high-speed performance SUVs, you don't want to run them down with an impact gun, okay? They actually get 7 Newton meters, then 70, and then 140. The 70 needs to be tightened when the wheel is still up in the air. Really important if you want to go 234 on the Autobahn. So seat them lightly. Then we go with 70. Okay, now I can do all of them and then lower the vehicle down on the ground. Now with the vehicle on the ground, I'm doing the 140. Done. I want to say changing the tie rods made a big difference. 95% of the clonking is gone. So I recommend everyone who has clonking noise with the Ace suspension to first change the tie rods to see how much that takes care of it.
I didn't feel any of the clonking. Christian is very sensitive.
So our Queen is completely fixed. We can drive it high speed on the Autobahn. It's very comfortable to drive, and I'm very glad we got this scenario done.
Yes, the Queen drives beautifully. She still has a little bit too little oxygen for my taste.
But
she
it
smells
already
weird.
Improved a lot, okay? I'm all happy with it.
I prefer our Discovery 4, and I cannot wait for our new Discovery 4 to be fixed and driven by us.
This was our Knuckle update video and the final episode in this regard. We're not gonna make another one about this recall issue unless there will be a recall in Germany.
Yes.
We're gonna add our opinion to it as well. But like Vera said, it's gonna be forever until the German bureaucracy gets that episode going. So at this point, I want to thank our Patreons a lot for their support, and
we'll see you next Sunday.
And of course, we want to wish you a good start into the new year.
Happy New Year.
Very well.